All right. Hello. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic because today we're going to be looking at YMAX. And more specifically, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at a little comment here. We have one comment from Sunlight9759. Why am I showing you this? He said, maybe she said, 1,000 shares of YMAX bought at $21.64 in April would have created a loss of capital $4,000 by November. That might potentially be true. But what we're going to do in this video is I have my Excel sheet up and I'm just kind of keeping your marker here. 1,000 shares equals a $4,000 loss. So what I want to do here is I want to look at exactly, okay, we have our shares. We're going to keep it at 1,000. We're not going to reinvest any dividends. We're going to assume we take everything out. We're going to look at different price points of YMAX over the past, I guess, like 6 to 7 months relating back to April, as mentioned by Mr. Sunlight or Mr. or Miss Sunlight. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at some dividends that we received over the total time frame. We're going to add up those dividends and we're going to compare the total starting value of $21,640 to our end value, which we have in November, currently $18.16, which is kind of about the share price we have today. So if that does sound good, we're going to check out YMAX's history for their dividends and for their payouts since April. So if that does sound good, please do remember to subscribe, like hopefully Mr. Sunlight has or will. We're up to 6,294 subscribers, very close to 6,300 subscribers, over 307 subscribers in the past 28 days. We're a growing page and our last video is doing awesome. Thank you to everyone who liked, and of course, make sure you guys comment because I love to see your comments. This is how I create great videos, because of you. So awesome. We're going to start in April, starting with the 73 cent dividend here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this kind of chart here. We have 1,000 shares currently. Cool. So our total worth is calculated by looking at, okay, we have 1,000 shares here and we have our share price of $21.64. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out, okay, how much dividends did we receive? 0, because we're not going to count April. We just bought it. Okay, we're jumping into May. Now, let's see exactly how much we are going to earn. We have a share price of $20.49. We're going to multiply that by our 1,000 shares. So you could see here, we've decreased over $1,200 worth of capital appreciation. But let's see exactly how much we have received in dividends. And I'm going to do this by multiplying our dividends here with our number of shares. Boom. So although we did lose about $1,200, we did receive about $730, which isn't that crazy, but you'll see as time goes on, YMAX's share price has fallen less, and in some cases this has actually risen in value. And all the dividends that I am showing you here, as you can see, I didn't put the weekly dividends that we've seen in September to November, but instead I added them all up, all the weekly dividends, so that we would have some kind of marker and the video would go along a little quicker. So cool. We're continuing on here. So we see now we're jumping to June where YMAX's share price dropped to $19.66. We're going to multiply that by 1,000 shares. So now you can see we've dropped almost $2,000 since the beginning. And if we go back to June here, we see here we have April, which was kind of like the high here. We have $21.64. Man, you really bought at the high here, Mr. Sunlight, because $21.64 is at really the peak of YMAX here in April. And then you could see here we go to May, which is the 5th, and we have the 6th which is June. And I did put a purchase price of $19.66. So somewhere about this marker right about here after the dividend paid out, roughly about closer to the end of the month. Cool. So now let's see our dividends. Our dividends from YMAX in this time frame, we're looking at 73 cents times our 1,000 shares. Boom. Not reinvesting anything. This is just strictly, you could see here, strictly just adding our dividend to the 1,000 shares, multiplying by 1,000 shares. Cool. We're going to the next marker. We are now dropping again this share price to $19.27 here. And you can see we're going to multiply this by 1,000. We dropped about $400. In this sense, the dividend is actually going to make up for this drop. So within the month of July, YMAX actually did better than a negative return because the dividend was greater. We have a 65-cent dividend. We're multiplying this by 1,000, and you can see although we dropped $400, we had a dividend paid of $651. Okay, cool. It's cool and all, but we got to keep on rolling. We have August, where there was a drop. You can see $1.25 drop in the share price of YMAX. And what I'm going to do here in a second is just kind of look over the chart. You can see we start at $21,640. We're now down to $18,000. That's roughly about $3,500. And that's in the time frame here in April all the way down to August, this time frame right here. So this steep downtrend that we've seen in YMAX is where we see a lot of that capital loss. But in August, you'll notice August, September, October, November, relatively flat here. This is where YMAX has created a lot of great returns and has created great returns within my portfolio as well. So let's take a look. Cool. So our dividends, we're going to add this up here. We're going to multiply by 59 cents, which is not a crazy monthly dividend. Cool. But that equals $500. Every time we receive dividends on 1,000 shares, we're getting a lot of monthly income. So it's something to keep in mind off of a $20,000 investment. We're going to continue on here. We're going to see our share price dropped a little bit to $17.57. We're going to multiply that by our 1,000 shares. Boom. Cool. We dropped a bit. Let's see our dividend for the month. This was one of the lowest dividends within September. This is where actually YMAX switched to paying weekly dividends, and it seemed to have missed its first dividend. You could see here, this was the 7th. This was August. And then this was September here, paying on the 18th, but only paying a 22-cent dividend and only paying 2 dividends for that month, which contributed to a 44-cent dividend. So we're going to take our dividend amount. We're going to multiply it by our 1,000 shares. Boom. $450. Nothing crazy. Continue on. Boom. Let's see. We have our $17.54 share price. We're going to multiply that by our 1,000 shares. That really did not decrease. That only decreased our total worth in terms of YMAX shares by $30. Yet we received over $1,000 worth of dividends, and I'm going to calculate that right now for you here. Boom. $1,038 in terms of dividends for the month of October. That is a huge month, as you can see right here. I'm just going to highlight that quickly so it's nice and easy to see. Awesome. That is our biggest month. Cool. Now we're going to our last, and this is where YMAX currently sits. So let's see. If you bought 1,000 shares back in April, let's see exactly how it's performing today. We do not need that, but what we do need is we need our share price. We need that multiplied by 1,000 shares. So if you were to have held YMAX, you would have started with $21,640. And just to go to my calculator here, $20,640. Boom. We're going to subtract this from what we now currently have, which is $18,160. Subtract $18,160. Cool. So you're looking at roughly a $3,500 drop in terms of the total price depreciation of YMAX. Pretty close to the 4,000. Sunlight, I'll give you that. It was pretty close. Now let's see exactly how much we've received in dividends. In order to do this, we're going to take our last dividend, which we got paid out in November. And the reason I'm putting this in is because I'm putting today's share price, which is after the dividend has been taken out of the share price. So it's a perfect time to do it. Now let's see exactly how much we have received in terms of dividends. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go sum. I'm going to add up all these numbers. Boom. $5,013. So you could see here, we have a total loss in terms of capital appreciation of $3,480, and we've received about $5,000 worth of dividends. So I'm just going to put this number here as our loss. So in total, let's see exactly what we gained if we were to have invested $20,000 in terms of YMAX. And what we're going to do is we are going to divide this to get our percent return. So our start, we started with $21,640. We have our end, which if we add $18,160 plus, let's see our total, $5,013.60. Okay, cool. 5,013, and everything counts. So we're going to add that 60 cents. Boom, $23,173. $23,173.60. Cool. We're going to add that in too. Cool. Awesome. So when we look at this, we actually see that although we bought YMAX at pretty much the height of the YMAX ETF in terms of share price, because we've held for the entirety and we've collected all these dividends, we're actually still up on our position, which kind of shows if you're to buy YMAX even at all-time highs like we are seeing right now, because I believe YMAX is really at all-time highs, the market's at all-time high. If you hold for the long term, it could potentially still be a good investment. Of course, is past. What happened in the past, does it predict the future? No, but I do believe the market's going to trend up over time. So if we were to hold YMAX over time, I would believe it would perform the same and would continue to appreciate. So let's see exactly what our return is here. We have $23,173. We're going to divide this by our starting value of $21,640. 21640. Perfect. So we subtract by 1. You can see buying YMAX even at the height of its capital appreciation got you a 7% return. Of course, with SPY at the same time probably doing much better in terms of April to where we currently stand in November. Sure, would have been a better investment to invest into SPY. You can see here April is roughly about right here. April, May. Yes, it would have been better. But YMAX pays us our beautiful dividends. And that's the whole reason we invest in YMAX. And of course, you could reinvest at better prices. There were so many times that there was so many better prices than buying at the worst possible time. So it just goes to show how even when we invested in YMAX, not reinvesting any shares, we're receiving a ton of dividends. And the dividends are continuing to actually grow compared to when they previously paid out dividends. And we're receiving more and more money every single month while not reinvesting. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think this was a pretty cool video idea. I want to thank you, Sunlight, for participating and sending me that comment. I also want to thank all of our subscribers for sticking around. We're up to 6,294 subscribers. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this video helped you to see even how if we buy YMAX at all-time highs, if we hold for the long term, we continue to collect our dividends, that we could potentially return a positive investment even when it seems like maybe we might not because we're buying at all-time highs. But that's just a little bit more kind of motivation to continue to buy, continue to reinvest, and that's what I'm currently doing in my portfolio. So if it does sound good, you guys know what to do. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.